The following program was made possible thanks to the generous support of our Kickstarter backers.
Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired.
Sup, Holmes?
Beware, your host, Jonathan Ho.
Tim Rogers, you are on the front page of Destructoid.com. Your full face.
Right now?
It's a top story.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, you are giving. Though when you look at the page with the condensed stories, all you see for this particular post is your thumb very near Mario's ear.
Oh yeah. Oh, I remember that photo. That's one of my.
Good photo.
You want to know a good story about that photo? Is that was at the Nintendo booth at E3 2013? Was it 13?
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they were announcing Super Mario 3D World, which, by the way, there's still no DLC for, and it's like my favorite game of the last like 10 years. I don't understand why they're not putting out like a new level every month or whatever. Like that seems like $1 billion idea to me. So they had at the Nintendo booth all these life-size diorama things, and you could like wait in line and get a picture of yourself coming out of the thing, like just you pose and they like take a photo of you, and you can have your friends take a photo. And I just saw the pipe and Mario, and I just went and stood behind it and did this, and my friend took a picture of me, and I'm like, all right, and he comes up and shows me the photo. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then I'm starting to walk away, and then a guy in the Nintendo shirt is like, hey, there's a line here. And I'm like, what? There was a line? Like, it was like, okay, I mean, I've played fighting games. I've played StarCraft. I've played a lot of League of Legends. I feel like I have the ability to see something and understand when it's not moving, right? Sure. Like to see something and read it. So I saw that pipe, and I read it as, well, it's there. I'm going to get a cool picture at this weird...
There's no one else in the pipe, I'm assuming, at the time.
Yeah, but the line was like 50 feet away, and I don't know what they were doing. If there's like jets of like antibacterial mist that like clean it between photos that I didn't see or whatever, but I just saw it, and I went up there, and I got my picture taken, and I felt like a huge jerk. Mm-hmm. So that photo is me doing this, like... And then I'm looking at the photo. I'm like, heck yeah. And then seconds after seeing that photo, this guy's like, there's a line here, man. Come on. And I'm just like, oh. And it was like
he didn't tell you before. He told you after the damage was done, when there was really no purpose at that point in informing you the wrongdoing you had perpetrated without knowing it.
It was like a guy in his late 30s, early 40s in a Nintendo shirt. So he was like the myth of the uncle who works at Nintendo made flesh. Was telling me that I'm a jerk, and I just felt so bad. Like, it was like I felt terrible for like 10 minutes after that. I was just like, man, did I really do that? And then I'm walking around the booth more, and there's like all these different dioramas. There's like a Pikmin one and a Zelda one, and I'm just like, man, now I see these huge long lines people are waiting in to get photos at these cool life-size Nintendo things, and I just.
And isn't it interesting? At E3, there needs to be a sociological study of E3 that would be reams and reams of pages. Maybe you will be the man to do it because you're very good at these things, in my esteemed opinion. But people will wait for an hour to take a picture of a plastic Mario, and they could be waiting in line for Halo 5. They could be waiting in line for blah, blah, blah video game. Instead, they're like, this is what's important, guys. And a lot of them are in the quotes press. They're writing a story about some sort of new video game. And instead, that's...
Well, see, your photo of me with Mario is on the front page of Destructoid, you said. So it's like, right? It's like, it's an evergreen thing. It's like you put your own stamp on it. You get your picture taken with this pristinely molded plastic Mario that looks... this just perfectly, deliciously soft plastic, colorful, life-size Mario, and then you're just going to remember that forever. It's like you can play Halo 5 a whole bunch later, right?
Sure, it's coming out in a couple months after.
It sure is. When is it coming out?
Pretty soon.
They didn't announce it yet. It's got the multiplayer beta. I've got that Halo Master Chief Collection. I haven't even played the Halo 5 multiplayer beta because I'm having a good time being an idiot and playing Halo 1 campaign all alone. But
well, it feels good to go back. It's very interesting to me that we're finally at a point where people are nostalgic for the good old days of Halo. You know, like remember when games were like
yeah.
Halo 1, but we're finally there. We've lived long enough to see this happen.
Yeah, I joke a lot on the internet, on Twitter or whatever, about hating video games or whatever, but I sure do play a lot of them. I played almost all of the big games that came out in 2014. And then playing Halo again, it's like Halo 1 is totally a retro game now, and it's cool because there's stuff in Halo 1 that they do not do anywhere remotely near that particular way anymore. Like, and I really like that. The level design in Halo 1 is just fantastic. And you've probably seen that image at there's like level design then and now.gif or whatever it's called, where it's like they show you a Doom level and then they show you a Call of Duty level map, and the Doom level has all these weird labyrinthine pathways, and the Call of Duty level is just right angles with cutscenes. Like, I mean, I think there's a place for both of those things, and but Halo was definitely the perfect balance. That fourth level, the Silent Cartographer. There's a really great article on a website called Kotaku.com that a guy wrote about.
You?
It wasn't me. No.
No,
It was, it was GB Doc Burford wrote an article. That's his name. It's not a pseudonym, I don't think. But he wrote a really, really good nuts and boltsy breakdown of the level design of the Silent Cartographer. I don't want now. I mean, it's the way I said it's definitely not a pseudonym. I don't think. Sounds like I'm hinting that it's me in disguise. It is not me, guys.
GD Doc Burford.
Yeah. His Twitter handle is Forget Amnesia. He wrote a really good article about Halo, and I really, really like it. And I've been showing it to all sorts of my video game industry friends, and they all love it. But yeah, I don't want to indicate that that's my pseudonym, because it's definitely not. Many writers about video games on the internet are my pseudonym, but not him. I just want to. I mean, absolutely not that guy. Like, yeah. So
and, Halo has been near and dear to your heart. If I remember correctly, last time you were on the show, I believe we talked about Ziggurat. It's a game that you and your partners made in Action Button Entertainment, partially influenced by the feeling of the gun in Halo 2. Am I remembering this right?
The Halo battle rifle in Halo 2. The battle rifle is like my favorite video game weapon. I think there's everybody kind of I don't know. Like I remember, like I was just talking with programmer Michael Kerwin, who's one of the programmers at Action Button working on Videoball, and he was saying that he like stopped playing Halo, like he didn't finish the Halo 2 campaign because he's a little bit younger than me, and he just didn't get through it. He played some other games, but he loved Halo 1. A lot of people didn't like the battle rifle because you're taking these single shots, and he's like, now that he's grown up, he's grown up a bit more. He's playing it. He's like, yeah, this battle rifle rules. We were playing the Halo 2 anniversary, which is fantastic, by the way, and yeah, we just, I'm like, yeah, see, this is like, when I played Halo 2, when I first played it, I was like, that rifle is great. It's just the feeling of firing like single shots at a time. So I wanted that feeling, except with visible tennis ball-sized projectiles, which is what the Ziggurat 3D third-person shooter is. Right.
And, an iPhone game that came out in 2000.
Well, we made an iPhone game when we realized we did not have $10 million to make the AAA console game Ziggurat. Right. So the iPhone game's cool. There's a bunch of stuff wrong with it right now. The sound, like iOS 8 came out and the sound effects don't work. I don't understand.
No. Really,
why
I haven't played it since then. I played it upon release quite a bit. Very frustrated and excited with the purple monsters in particular, if I remember correctly.
It is a frustrating game, and I still play it a bunch. But yeah, the sound effects are broken, and we don't know why. And also, the game got like delisted from the App Store, and I like went back into my Apple account, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" And it's like, you need to fill out some paperwork, and I did. And then it took like 3 weeks before the game reappeared on the iOS store. But it is back. I am getting tweets like every hour. When will Ziggurat be back? And I haven't replied to any of them, but the answer is like 2 or 3 days ago.
Supple's announcement. This is exciting. And Videoball, you speak of Videoball, last time we spoke in person, we talk like old friends, but I think in reality this is the third time we've actually used the verbal the sound reverberation
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the vocal cords to communicate. It's mostly been over tweets and email and whatnot. We talked on this show years ago, and then we talked. You were promoting Videoball at PAX East and drawing a crowd. People who you don't know, who know me, would come up to me and be like, "Dude, did you play Videoball at PAX East?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did. What do you think of the guy who was talking about it?" Like, "I love that guy." Like, you have Massachusetts fans. Get ready to sign.
Oh yeah, they liked Videoball in Boston. I had a good time.
It seemed like they did. Yeah, but maybe you could tell us about Videoball because you've talked about it with me, but not on this particular show. So people may not even know about Videoball, unfortunately.
Videoball is a well, it goes. There's a long story to Videoball. Do you want the beginning of the story, or do you want the recent developments? What do you?
There's no better time than now for a long story. So begin at the beginning if you choose to.
Well, Videoball is a prototype that we made in 2011, in October of 2011. I was working a job, like some people do. I was.
2011. You weren't over at Grasshopper at that point, were you?
No, I was at Grasshopper till 2010. So,
Got it.
2010 is when I lost my visa for living in Japan. I dropped it. That's a joke. They just told me we can't extend your visa, and it's like, oh, okay. So I had to quit and leave and go home, come back.
That's really how it happened with Grasshopper?
That's how it happened. Yeah.
Son of a gun. Because you were there for at least a couple of years, right?
I was there 4 years. Yeah.
I didn't know that when I talked to you last time, or the last time on this show, and then I find
you didn't know that? Oh.
Exceptional review of Shadows of the Darned, as you call it. 2 out of 4 stars. You reviewed a game that I think you even worked on a little.
Yeah. Oh, I worked on that whole game right up until they decided they had to release it and completely changed everything. Yeah. I'm not. Oh, I guess I'm bound to not actually talk about details, but man, that review in which I talk about the experience of receiving a pair of jeans from Goichi Suda. He would come into the office with garbage bags full of clothes like once a month, and his secretary would send a mass email out and be like, "Goichi Suda's bringing in some clothes today. At 7 p.m., meet in the Gundam room to." There's a room that's full of Gundam plastic models. Meet in the Gundam room to choose the clothing. And every time that happened, I cornered Goichi Suda. I just went up to his desk. I'm like, hey, you brought in clothes? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, can I just get the good stuff now? And he's like, heck yeah, man. So that's like as close friends as we ever became is when he would bring in a bunch of clothes. I'd be like, man, you got cool clothes. Can I just, we're like the same size. Can I just have some of your stuff? He's like, yeah, I'll give it to you. And then the funny thing is the other guys, I mean, not saying anything bad about them, but they weren't people who cared about fashion and music and film and all that. They were video game dudes, and they were all just the best, coolest dudes in the world. But when it came time to receive clothes, they're like, they'd get like a white T-shirt, and you're like, all right, I'll take this. It's a good shirt. And it's like, I got some weird jeans, including a pair of jeans with a sterling silver plate on the pocket. So
wow. I remember reading, and maybe this wasn't you, that there was a pair of jeans that were designed that the zipper could never really go up.
That's them, yeah. That's the jeans. That's the Shadows of the Darned review. The zipper goes up, but there's a second zipper that has no on ramp that just kind of flies off to the side, and it's like unzipped style. Like you can be unzipped, right? And I wore those jeans because they fit really well, and I mean, man. I'm not recommending this in any case, but there's something about wearing like an $800 pair of jeans. It's like, oh my God, the quality actually is. I'm not saying it's $780 better than a $20 pair of jeans, but I wear $10 jeans all the time. But it's like, holy Lord, there's definitely some artistry and care that goes into making a pair of jeans like this. Like the seams are so nice, it's like, I don't know. So it's like I'm just wearing this beautiful piece of fabric all the time. And then I was at E3 in 2011. This was like this would be 3 years later after I got those jeans. And Goichi Suda saw me in the lobby of a hotel, and he just comes up. He's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, hey, what's up? We talked for a couple of minutes. you know, I mean, he's a cool guy. We hang out in the U.S. And we're hanging out there for a bit, and we're just talking for like a half an hour. And he looks down and he's like, you know, your zipper's down. And I go, oh, it's actually not down. And I like flip the flap open, because the idea is these jeans are a conversation piece. A person will walk up and be like, your jeans are unzipped, and you'll go, yeah, thanks for noticing. And then you flip it open and go bam and be like, show them. It's like the most ridiculous thing. Somebody would pay $825 or $828 for a pair of jeans that does not look like it's zipped.
And these are his jeans he's talking about.
Yeah. So he's like, you know, your flies now. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And then I flip it open. He goes, oh. And he goes, I'm like, yeah, see, it's actually a zipper. He goes, I had a pair of jeans like that once. And I'm like, yeah, these were yours. And he goes, no, they're not. And that's my story of Shadows of the Darned. That's the perfect anecdote to summarize the experience of working on that game.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I wrote that review, I had to delete like 90% of the comments because they were like, "You didn't work on this game, you slur." And it's like, oh my, you know, I did, you know, what, you know. And then there was some really weird like people read some I don't know, how to make enemies and manipulate people books or whatever. They're like, you're only writing this because you feel inadequate about your career from that point. And it's like, who's like people trying to hypnotize me with their internet comments? And it's like, that was really weird. But no, I had a good time working on that game. I hung out with a bunch of cool people, and we had a bunch of dumb fun. And I got a bunch of cool pairs of jeans. They're still in my closet. I don't wear them because I ended up losing like 50 pounds through some strange process.
You do seem thinner than Goichi Suda, who I've met a few times, and I like him a lot as a person. I also like
cool
his games quite a bit. I had a really fun time with the last one he put in, Short Piece. A lot of people were criticizing it. I thought it knew exactly what it wanted to do, and it executed it pretty darn well. But I have met him a few times, and I think I heard him tell me, even, because being over analytical and a little bit hyper, I'll play his games and analyze, and I'll be like, was this the deep meaning you meant by Sylvia Crystal's, like, walk to the left and right? And he's like, dude, I didn't really think about it. I just, did a thing, you know? And people that you're mentioning with the deep voice, like, I hate you so much for what you said about Suda 51, they come after me.
Yeah, they dogpile on you for trying to analyze their games. Yeah.
Well, more so. There's a tweet from like October or something that one guy is saved, and if you're watching, one guy, thank you for watching, where I said, yeah, Suda told me in so many words he pretty much like writes his games in his sleep. Like he just accesses his dreams and throws them out on the page and doesn't like really worry about it. The guy he's enraged at me still. Like, you're saying Suda just like sleeps through his job? Like he doesn't even really care? I'm like, no, he cares. He's just like, that's his creative process, I guess. And the man won't let it go. The rage of a Suda fan who feels as though Suda's being dissed publicly. Woof, watch out.
It's so weird. It's like the only way you can write something good. So first of all, I want to say that I mean, it is undoubtable that I consider Suda's position enviable. Like, he is at the head of this company that he grew from 4 to 100 employees. He got bought by a multi-billion-dollar corporation. He's like their little pet project, but by pet project, I mean he gets to spend millions of dollars making weird, quite frankly, and this is an affectionate term, stupid video games that he wants to make. And it's like, that's what I want to do. I want to make just flamingly stupid video games with $10 million budgets or what have you for a company. Like, I don't know, why can't Google buy me just so I can make dumb, horrible video games that are released on platforms and are Unreal Engine and have all the materials, and I could have just crazy guns and insane violence. Like, why can't that happen to me? Like, that's pretty much what happened to him.
He's a little older than you. I mean, you just haven't been at it quite as long as him.
He is a little older than me. So I was, you do that thing. I think anybody with any aspirations does this thing where they look on Wikipedia and they're like, how old was this person when they did this? How old was this person when they did this? And it's like, I pretend that I don't do that, but I've done it in my head before. I'm like working for Suda, and I was 26, and I was like, he's 41. He's had this company for 9 years. No, it was 8 years at that point. I'm like, yeah, and they're only 30 employees here. Maybe I could start a company. It doesn't seem that hard. He just goes out to meetings. And I mean, I understand now that I have started a company. It is hideously exhausting to go out and just sit around and talk with business people. And some of them, it's like chewing on styrofoam, talking to them, like the business guys. And it's like you're just trying to get some money, some investment. We've managed to not take any investment at Action Button Entertainment, which is something I'm somewhat proud of, but who knows how much longer that will continue. But yeah, it's exhausting to be the boss of a company, especially when everyone in the office is like, man, Suda's not here again. What is he doing? Where is he? And it's like, I'm sitting there thinking my way through it, just getting my head around it. And I'm like, oh, he's probably out talking to boring people or at another lunch or another dinner. And it's like, it is work. It's a different kind of work that, I grew up lower middle class. I worked at a Target store. I put myself through college by working at Target. It's a different kind of work than I have been like trained by my life experience to acknowledge. But I am 35 and a half years old now, and I get it. I think I see what the adult work is all about. And I really wish I would have gotten a haircut because I've been getting my hair cut.
I think your hair looks freaking fantastic. I had to shave my head to play Sagat earlier this morning.
Oh, that rules, though. You have a good head shape. If I shaved my head, I'd look insane.
Oh, I don't think so. You think so?
I would look like a clown that, like, fell off of a truck if I shaved my head. Like, fell off of a truck and lost his wig. And then clawed the makeup off his face in rage. That's, like, for losing my rainbow wig is what I would look like. I would look terrible. I would look I don't like the shape of my head. Speaking of that, I have restarted Dragon Age Inquisition 3 times now because I just don't like the shape of the head that I make. And I found this thing on the internet. Somebody made Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones in Dragon Age. It's actually like pretty amazing. Like I'm like, maybe I'll just start over and be her. I mean, if you have the mental bandwidth right now, take a look at that. They got all the sliders. I just sent it in there.
Yeah,
they got all the sliders. You can click on. You just figure out where the face goes.
That is extremely lifelike and accurate to the television show.
Yeah, isn't that's sick? Like
constantly with eyebrows, just as it should be.
I would say, how do people have the time to do this? But again, I've worked in AAA video game development, and I've seen a guy open up a 3D modeling program and just boom, make a human torso with six-pack abs in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh, wow. So it's like there's just so many people who can do a whole bunch of stuff that I can't do, like way better than I can do it.
And that's the key of business, I think. All these meetings Suda is having, and these meetings you're probably having now, and now I'm editor-in-chief at Destructoid, I have to have meetings. How do you get someone to be happy and want them to work with you, but at the same time, it's always underlying money issue because it's business. These are our jobs. So then you have to think about how much money is it going to be worth? Am I going to lose all this money? So it's resource management mixed with social skills.
Oh yeah.
Like the art of collaboration, which in itself is something that takes years to master sometimes. You can be the best painter in the world, but if you're working on a video game, your painting is just a small part of a large thing, and if you can't work with other people on it, it doesn't matter how great you are technically, the end product is going to be a load of crap.
It's weird to be the person in charge of stuff because, I mean, you get it eventually, but if you want to keep the other people on the team from like having a secret chat room where they add up the dollar value of your shoe purchases, for example, and keep a running tally, looking at your shoes every day when you come to the office and then locating them on the internet and finding dollar value and having and then like breaking that down in the percentage of the game's budget or what have you, or the known budget. Not everybody knows the budget. Like if you want to keep that from happening, you have to know something about what everybody is doing. Like you have to know something concrete. Like you can't just I mean, I've worked with a lot of bosses before in technical jobs, and it's usually your boss is a cool boss is a boss who actually knows some of the details of what I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. But like, you know, I can do a little tiny bit of programming. I can prototype a game all by myself, right? And it's usually terrible. And if we were going to make it into a real game or a real feature in a game, a real programmer would have to completely redo it. But I can prove concepts without game design documents. I can go, look at this. I made this stupid thing. What do you think? And I can do that in Unreal Script. And as long as I can keep, you know, because communicating game design in like a document, you get a lot of weird passive aggression from programmers, especially when you tell them, you know, oh, I want to, you know, I want to do it like this, and they're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't work that way. You get a lot of sentences starting with, well, the way it works now is, you know, and then it's like, oh, can we make it work another way? And then it's like, no, and then, you know, they start looking up how much your shoes cost, you know, like 5 seconds later.
Right.
They're like, yeah. So I did get my most recent pair of Jordans on clearance. They were $48, okay? They were not the $179 price that you'll see listed on the Nike shop.com website. But they're $48. Fantastic price.
That is a very nice price. Yes.
Yeah, they're beautiful shoes. They're right over there. Maybe I'll hold them up on camera later.
I would appreciate
I should have had props lined up on the floor here.
You've got it looks like a Care Bear cousin.
I've got a Care Bear cousin.
Yeah,
this is a Brightheart raccoon.
Yeah.
It's a vintage. This is from 1985.
Really? That's legit. I brought a prop too. I figured you were in this book. If you're not, you should be in the sequel. I just got it sent to me.
The Untold History
of Japanese developers, and it made me think of you right away because I started to read it, and who is the first person who gets detailed? But this guy, Hitoshi Ueda, I think is his name.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, who did the Phantasy Star 2 artwork, and what a neat guy. I have to review this book for Destructoid. I'm about this far in, and I've got to read the rest of these pages on top.
I'll go ahead and write the review for you. That book is most likely a real good time.
Yeah, so far so good.
That's my review. I met the guy who wrote it in Japan. I ran into him. He used to post on a forum that I posted on, select button and insert credit. His last name is Shipaniak.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it.
Shipaniak, but
better job than I would.
I called him Sketch Panic, is what I called him, because it reminded me of the game Stretch Panic, and eventually he made that his handle, so I thought that was funny. Really, really, really smart, well-meaning guy. I mean, that sounds like he's done something terrible in the past. I was calling him a well-meaning guy. He's a really smart guy who really, really cares about all that stuff. So that's really neat to know. Like, I bet that book's a real good time because he probably just went, you know, straight on, focused on all that stuff.
Yeah, so far so good. Yeah,
very lovingly put together. I want that book. I guess I'm gonna pay money for it. Is that what I'm gonna do? I could
send you mine. Maybe you should review it for Destructoid. Maybe I could freelance you into this. Not that you're not.
Tell him to send me one. Just keep yours. Maybe I'll ask him. He's my Facebook friend.
I bet he'll send you.
I'll tell him.
He's an England, I think.
Oh, is he?
Jolly old, yeah. I think so.
Oh. Well, I'll find him. I'm pretty sure he's my Facebook friend.
I bet he is. And we diverted way far away from the long, interesting, I am guessing it will be interesting, and my guesses are usually right, the long, interesting story of Videoball. It started as a prototype, I believe.
So I was working at a Grasshopper manufacturer, and they were wondering what they should do, because Shadows of the Darned was a huge budget game, and it was with EA, and they were taking their time on it, and the production wasn't really working out super well. And I had this idea. I wanted, like, they were talking about what games should we make, and Suda had an idea for a 2-on-2 game for the PlayStation. And Suda's ideas are, he's an artist, so his ideas are like, he's an artist, and he's have you read the Steve Jobs biography? This is like a category, like a quality of bosses. Like, Steve Jobs apparently got really mad and like punched a guy because he wouldn't do the right design for something. Now, Suda had never punched anybody, but the guy's like, I don't know what you want, man. I don't know what you want, Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs is like, just keep doing different stuff and I'll know it when I see it. So Suda had this idea for a game, and it's going to be like a sports game on the TV. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And it's like I was a big fan of Star Control 2. I was a big fan of Asteroids, Star Control 1 even. I don't even mind that one. And it was like, yeah, I've got some ideas for games, and I like tell him about some of my ideas, and he's like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then we ended up doing something else. But it's like, I like crystallized the idea for Videoball in like, that was like 2009, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty cool game. I'd probably play that. And it was just a nebulous idea. It's asteroids, but instead of blowing up the asteroids, you're knocking them around, and you're trying to knock them into your opponent's goal.
Right.
And obviously, you can't just shoot them and they move at the same speed. There has to be a penalty for touching an asteroid. There has to be a penalty for getting shot by one of the players on the other team. You get knocked around. Maybe you hold the button and charge and then let go, and it gets bigger shots and bigger shots. And the bigger the shot, the harder it pushes the ball. The harder it pushes the ball, the faster the ball moves. Get the ball into the other team's goal or end zone and score a point, score more points to win. And my idea was that there would be like a gap, and there's just asteroids just tumbling down into it. So the playing field is just full of asteroids, and you're shooting them in. And I just had that idea in my head for a couple years. And I'm just like, yeah, this is the game I want to play right now. Because at the time I was playing a lot of Pac-Man Championship Edition, and I was playing a lot of Space Invaders DX for the Space Invaders Deluxe for the it was Pac-Man Championship Edition DX. That was a DX. Super Mario Brothers DX. Yeah, so I was playing a lot of Space Invaders Deluxe, and I loved that game, and I was just like, I love how much friction there is and how much freeze framing there is. And my friend Kenta Cho, maybe you know of Kenta Cho, he's an independent game developer, does a lot of shooting games. He did
a friggin' big deal. He did Tameki Fighters, right?
Tameki Fighters, yeah. He was my bro in Japan. We hung out some. I mean, as much as people like me and him hang out with each other, it's like he's a. I won't reveal his identity, but Kenta Cho does not need to make video games to live. He's got a job, a pretty good one. So, oh, that was a truck driving by outside that caused that vibration on the microphone. Yeah, so we were just talking about these games, and I told him about this idea for Videoball, and he's like, yeah, that sounds really good. I'd play that. That sounds real good. And it's like, we were playing Under Defeat at an arcade. Under Defeat by G-Rev or Grev is like so good. I wrote a review of it. Like there was an HD remix last year that I wrote a review of for Paste because they were willing to take a review of a game that I wrote. It's like, this is like my favorite shooting game ever, and I'm gonna write a review of it right now because it just got released, and I paid $30 for this game, and I'm gonna love it. And it's like a $30 720p HD. It's a top-down shooting game about helicopters.
Okay. Under Defeat, not Under Defeat, but
no. Wait. Whoa. Yeah. Under Defeat. Yeah. Sorry.
Right.
Sorry.
That's good.
I thought for a second I'd gotten the title wrong. I thought I'd been saying Border Down the whole time. Border Down is their previous game.
Oh, all right.
You ever have that where you suddenly think, oh, was I saying the wrong words for that whole sentence?
And with human beings too,
Yeah. Oh,
sorry,
God.
Sheila. Oh, Jesus, are you really Sheila? It makes me feel terrible. But Under Defeat.
I would have felt worse about Under Defeat than I would have about Sheila. But just because I mean, no person can give me what Under Defeat has given me. And it's this really, okay, maybe they can, who knows? It's just this beautiful. If you ever want to feel like the cashmere sweater of video games, just like it's simple, but it's just this fine fabric. It's this beautiful fabric of a video game. It's got this great stick shifty controls. Like you click right and left to move your helicopter, but there's travel time on the rotation of the copter, right? So when you click right, the copter doesn't just turn right, just move right. It rotates a little bit to the right, right? So if you're not holding the fire button, and then you start pressing the fire button, and you'll start shooting, but you will freeze at the exact degree of rotation that your copter drifted as you were turning. So this way, when you're moving to the right, your copter points like maybe like I guess it's about 60 degrees up to the right. And when you're moving left, it's about 60 degrees to the left. And when you're moving forward, it's straight up. But you can lock your rotation angle by letting go of the fire button, moving, holding the fire button, and then you can move in any direction while firing at that angle.
Huh.
Sounds ridiculous, but your brain immediately understands it. And so me and Kent and Cho were talking about that, and we were talking about Videoball, and I was like, I want it to have asteroids controls, is what I want it to have. And he's like, yeah, there should be a game like Asteroids. Why aren't there more games like Asteroids? And I'm like, heck yeah. And I made it with Asteroids controls. Well, eventually, when we were working on Ziggurat for iOS, I was having a party at my house, and a bunch of people were coming over. And I was working at Zynga at the time, and I had a bunch of people come over, and we played. I was like, hey, Brent Porter, Action Button Entertainment's co-founder, lead programmer, and lead artist. I have this stupid idea for a video game that's been in my head for this many years. How quick can we make it? The answer turned out to be like 6 hours. And
The first Videoball, the first iteration.
the very first ugly prototype. Maybe Brent Porter will be sad if I call it ugly. It's not ugly. It's beautiful. It is fantastic. I still have it on my computer. And I set up a tripod, and I recorded like 8 hours of people playing it. And I have that video in the Action Button Entertainment archives. And it was a party. And we went out and ate a pizza afterward, and I recorded the conversation, which is difficult for me to listen to because I can't stand the sound of people chewing. So people are chewing and talking about what they like about Videoball, and it was a lot more complex than it is now. We ended up gutting out the asteroids control scheme, and instead you just move one-to-one with an analog stick, but you aim in the direction, and there's a sort of under defeatness to the sweeping and angling of your shots. There's a sort of a little bit of a delicate flavor on there.
Huh.
But if I had not talked to Kent and Cho as many times as I have, I probably would not have developed the ability to articulate all the tiny mechanical things that I then communicated to Brent Porter when he made that prototype. And Brent Porter obviously is a dude who knows a whole bunch of cool stuff, and he just gets it. You know, I give him the idea, and he gets it, does his own thing with it, and there's a whole lot of stuff in Videoball that was Brent Porter's idea, and I've never not taken credit for it. But it's like, yeah, there's that in there. But yeah, we had that game, and we sat on it. And then I heard that Microsoft was looking for games to put on Xbox One, possibly with a publishing deal. And I was working somewhere terrible, you know, doing what people like me do, designing virtual economies for terrible mobile social games. And I was like, oh, Microsoft wants some stuff. We should make this game, which had a terrible name. And I was sitting in the bathtub, and I was like, we're going to call it Videoball. I was like, that's what we're going to call it. This is like a year after we made the game. I'm like, we're going to call it Videoball. And then we showed it to Microsoft, showed it to Ted Woolsey, even. Ted Woolsey, who translated Final Fantasy VI.
I was going to say, that name sounds very familiar.
He's now like top dog dude at Digital Games. Top dog dude is his title, TDD. That's not his title. He's like top dog dude at the digital marketplace for Xbox, and he has been for several years. So
Awesome.
I didn't know I was meeting Ted Woolsey until I walk in. There he is, and it's like he looks at the game. He's like, "Yeah, this is great. This is great." And then, you know, I had like a non-conversation with them. You know, I mean, I've worked with enough quote unquote startups. I hate that word. I hate startups. I've worked with enough startups and been, you know, helped people plan for enough venture capital meetings to know that you don't say no to an idea, like, ever. The people with money, you're not supposed to say no. So Microsoft never said no, hence the non-versation. So, like, they're just like, yeah, you know, we'll be around for this. Show it to us again at that time. You know, show it to us again this time. And then at the same time, I was like, man, we polished this game up a bunch for the purpose of demoing it to Microsoft. Let's keep going with it. And now it looks fantastic. It's running 60 FPS, 1080p, and it's got online multiplayer and all sorts of stuff. And it's like, let's go nuts with it. And then we decided that's the game we're going to do. And we are still doing it. So I guess it was like June of 2013 we decided to make this game and finish it. Finish the fight. You know?
And is it finished now, would you say? Is it complete in your mind?
It is by and large complete, yes.
Got it.
We're just gutting bugs out of it.
But when I saw you last, PAX East, you were representing along with Ben Shostak, I believe, was there working on High Strangeness. There was I think it's called Krautscape, a really cool looking game called Krautscape was there. It was kind of like, yeah. There was something about the Krautenstein. I can't remember the details. And
I don't understand why the music's not krautrock, though. I don't understand that.
That's a good point. And you were there.
It would fit. Yeah.
All with Midnight City, and then earlier, or late last year, I should say now, because we're in 2015, there was all these bad rumors going around on Midnight City, and I was worried for all of these awesome-looking Midnight City games like Krautscape, like High Strangeness, and like Videoball. Do I need to be afraid for Videoball at this point?
Well, I don't really know what I can say and what I can't say.
Sure.
But I think we'll be okay. I don't know who's going to publish Videoball. Maybe I will. I don't know. It costs a lot of money to publish Videoball. But it's going to be all right, I think. I don't know.
It would be amazing if you got sued by someone. I don't know,
Nice.
Schmitty. I hope it's not Schmitty. Say, you shouldn't have said everything's going to be all right. That was a breach of contract. It
Oh,
could happen.
God.
I sure hope not. But if so, it'll be the funniest headline in video game journalism history.
Getting
Tim
sued for
Rogers
saying
sued.
everything's going to be all right.
That headline alone, especially if you write it yourself, the page views you'll get. Hopefully, will
Yeah.
be $1.50. You'll be buying pizza for a week on that. I hope.
Oh, yeah. And, well, I mean, or buying pizza or paying a lawyer. But maybe there's a lawyer who accepts pizza as payment.
I wish we had a more interesting world like that. People just accepted interesting gifts instead of just money gifts. But money's good too.
Pro bono, more like pro pizza.
So I feel somewhat more safe in knowing the Videoball is going to happen, but I'm also getting the sense that you can't really say either way what's going on with Midnight City at this.
I don't know. I don't know. I wish them the best. They're a bunch of cool guys, but maybe some stuff happened. Maybe some business stuff happened. I don't know. I'm not involved in any of that. But we're just working on the game still.
Sure.
We are doing the same thing we've been doing for a year, which is making menus, making the UI, which is just crushingly, terribly boring work. But
it's really hard work too, and so important. That is
sure
the face
is.
of your game. And if
people
you mess
underestimate UI as a big deal, and I've been like, okay, so people are like, I have friends in the city of Oakland, friends who are not video game developers, and they are not intimately connected with the architecturing and engineering of any software products in their lives. You know, they're lucky to have that, and they're like one of my friends was telling me that another one of my friends was saying to another one of my friends, like, how deep this goes, was saying, like, what's the deal with Videoball? Why hasn't he released that game yet? Like, it's done. We play it all the time. I mean, how much more work could it be? I mean, he just wants the menus to be done. Is he just being a perfectionist about it, or what? And it's like, I'm not being a perfectionist about it, you jerk. It's like, here's the way I've put it, and I've explained this to people's faces when they're like, oh, you know, you're making the menu, just put it out, man. I'm like, look, the richest man in the world became the richest man in the world because he made menus for a computer. Okay?
Bill Gates, I'm thinking. You're talking
Yeah. Is he the richest man in the world? I think he is.
He's
Whatever.
very close. Yeah, it's very
I
close.
mean, there's really no use splitting hairs over who's richer than Bill Gates because we're all gonna die. You know, I mean, it's like, what does it matter? Like, okay, so he became the richest man in the world because he made a user interface. You know,
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a big deal. And sure, my user interface is a little bit. I've been a bit of a jerk about it. Okay, here's the thing about Videoball's user interface, and I want to say this right now because everyone listening is probably going to play Videoball. We have 6 billion pre-orders, which I don't know how we got that, but 6 billion pre-orders and counting. Every baby that's born ends up pre-ordering it. We're basically what that joke means is we're giving free pre-orders to everyone in the human race.
Are you really?
Yeah, everybody gets a free pre-order.
I had no idea that this was a thing.
I mean, the pre-order is not, you have to buy, you have to pay for the game when it's out.
Right.
Consider it pre-ordered. That's the mentality. That's a joke in case anyone's watching and they are going to comment saying, "I don't want to pre-order to your stupid game," because I know somebody's going to say that. It's like, okay, it was a joke. Like maybe it's not. I'm sorry, it's not the exact joke you've heard from someone else before because apparently that's popular now. It's just
very popular.
Repeat a joke word for word. Start a sentence with "one does not simply," and then you know that it's going to be a joke, right? Is that how people do it now?
I haven't heard that one, but that does sound.
The one, it's from Lord of the Rings. Sean Bean says, "One does not simply walk into Mordor." So people go, "One does not simply eat one taco," and it's like, oh, or okay, here you go. This is the perfect one. One does not simply eat one piece of bacon. Because you've got to eat a whole lot of bacon because bacon is funny by itself. Like, that's apparently how humor works now. So my joke about 6 billion pre-orders, that's an original. If you haven't heard it before, I'm sorry. But you've heard it now, and then maybe when I tell it again, you'll know it's okay to laugh.
Well, if somebody else tells it, you
just
can get Jim Carrey to tell it or something.
Oh, yeah. I'll get him on the horn.
He's a hot comedian right now.
He's from Canada. He's one of those people that some people don't realize is from Canada.
That's
like me.
true.
I'm not actually from Canada, but I saw that on a forum. They're like, "Is he from Canada?" I think he's from Canada. It's like, why do people think I'm from Canada?
I always took you as a Southern gentleman. You've got a slight Southern drawl to you.
I got a little bit of that. I'm from all over the place. My dad was in the Army. We moved all the time. I've been everywhere. Kind of like Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere. He has a song called "I've Been Everywhere." It's not a good, memorable song, but I've been everywhere, man, is the name of the song.
It's a good song. It's all right. I can't.
Okay.
We're going with Videoball with you.
6 billion pre-orders, right? Is that what I was saying?
6.8 billion, I think.
6.8 billion, whatever the number of people is. 6 billion pre-orders in counting. Maybe there's 800 million we didn't get yet. I don't know, but yeah. I have no idea what
That's okay.
What
I'm
that
gonna
was
move.
about.
I can do things. I can talk about where.
I feel like it was connected to something that I was going to say.
But it's so
going to be just real.
It's kind of a climax, though. It's hard to go anywhere from that. Yes.
I remember. I was talking about the user interface. So I'm saying this. 6 billion pre-orders and counting. Everybody's going to play this game eventually. The first time you play it, it's going to be a little bit weird, because here's the thing. Okay. Now here's a tangent first.
Sure.
We made a virtual golf hole, Action Button Entertainment, like for a miniature golf course that's inside of a really nice old building in San Francisco. So there's a really beautiful miniature golf course called Urban Putt in San Francisco. It's very fantastic. If you're in the area, check it out. It's nice. We made a virtual golf hole. That's a TV up at portrait mode, and you hit the ball into a hole, and it hits a sensor, magic piece of engineering sensor that then causes a ball to shoot forward on the screen. So you're like playing a video game by hitting your ball. So the idea of mini golf, you have one club and a ball. So you're using your club and your ball to play our video game. It's an ingenious design.
Is it a profit deal? Is there any way to turn it into some sort of money-making scheme?
No, we just got it to it's just to put our name on it and just have a neat thing. It's cool that we have a game that is playable only in one room in the world. I like that sort of flaky little idea. But I remember I was there at the opening party, and they were pouring champagne and they were serving food, and all of these elite technology people from there's a lot of them around here, a lot of rich people in polo shirts, and I'm just kind of standing around in my sunglasses. Speaking of which, the sun is getting really bright, so I kind of want to put my sunglasses on.
You can do it. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right.
I'll do it in a minute. So I'm just standing around, and it opens up. right? And everybody's going down the numbers, and our hole is hole 4, right? So I see hole 1, 2, 3, and then the first group in is a husband and a wife and their child, right? And the child's like a 4-year-old boy, and he gets up to the TV and he sees it, and the husband has got his glass of wine. He's like, "Oh, it's like a video game," you know. And his wife is like, "Oh my God, that's great," you know. And then the kid just looks at it and like walks right up, and guess what he did? Take a guess. Tell me what he did. What did the kid do?
Did he try to win the game? Did he just kick it in there or something?
Oh no, I'm thinking like concretely, like mechanically. What do you think he did? 4-year-old child. I estimate. Yeah. What do you think?
I'm completely stumped and live on television, so it's scary. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
You lose. Okay, so what he did was runs right up, slaps his hand on the screen like 5 or 6 times. And I saw that and I went, you know. So every time a blog runs a story about an iOS game, you've probably seen this. Whenever you've got like a review of an iOS game or whatever on your site, you probably have like 25% of your commenters are just bitter, weird people being like, games gotta have a controller. Games that don't use controllers aren't real games.
Or
you know,
worse than that, we'll write a story about an iOS game and they'll just be like, I stopped at iOS.
Yeah.
But video game, don't let anything get between you and video game. It could be a good game, but
It's like, I mean, I remember my dad not being interested in the NES because he'd stopped at Pong, because Pong was like a real game. Pong was like a man's game. And this Mario stuff, what is this garbage? What is this Chinese trash? You know, it's like, well, it's a different kind of thing, you know. It's they're growing up, they're getting better. So it's like, I feel like I almost feel like it's your duty if you were a child of the NES era to be like really open-minded about new stuff, new games. I see myself being 80 years old and having whatever new phone there is, you know? Like, I will not, you know, my mom is great. If it were not for my mom, I would probably be a skeleton in a ditch somewhere, right? But, my mom won't look at a smartphone or a computer. She's just like, I don't know what to do with that. I'm like, oh, here's a, you know, my dad's like, oh, you've got a cool apartment over there in Oakland, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I got some pictures right here. You want to see this? And then my dad's looking at it and he's like, here, you know, look at this. And he's like trying to show my mom, and she's like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do. It's like, you know, when you go, I stopped at iOS, you're being an old person. Like, we're supposed to not have a difference between young people and old people. We're supposed to just be people, right? Right. So, you know, it's cool. But anyway, I'm seeing this kid slap the screen, and I'm like, that's it now. That's what video games are. Like, and I'm not fighting it. I'm like, that was that kid's first impulse. You know, there's an arrow. There's a nice arrow carved out of wood because it's like this beautiful wooden cabinet. And there's like an arrow pointing at the slot, and it's like, hit your ball in here, right? And then on the screen, there's an arrow pointing down going, shoot your ball down there. Right. And you shoot it into the slot, sort of like skee ball, right? And this kid's just slapping the screen. He's got a golf ball in his hand, golf club in the other hand. You know, puts them in one hand awkwardly, starts slapping the screen. Like,
so given the choice between, okay, there's a physical activity you can engage in with these tools you have in your hand, or you can touch the screen, which is more likely to get you the result? What are you more likely being asked to do right now? Well, I'm probably being asked to touch the screen because that's how I get all my videos. That's how I get video games. That's how I communicate with my friends. That's how I look at pictures of myself, touching the screen.
You play with your child apps. You know, they have all those kid apps that have like shapes you move around or whatever.
Yeah. Sure.
Touching stuff and moving it around, and it's natural and it's real. And I have made some prototypes of games with touchscreen controls that will blow your mind, and we're going to hopefully start making those into real games very soon.
Awesome.
I've got like 4 games that are way better than Ziggurat. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Ziggurat's like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. I can't remember what Destructoid gave it.
9.5.
It's about
Y'all gave it a 9.5. Yeah,
Yeah, that's better
that's
than...
a 10, basically.
I love Goichi Suda. He's gotten very few 9.5 out. I gave him a 9.5 out of 10 for No More Heroes 2, which I just adored for whatever reason.
I did some stuff for that. Let's
you
not talk
did?
about what... Yeah,
Holy smokes. Maybe that's why I liked it so much. I tend to like your games, Tim Rogers.
Yeah. I didn't do that much stuff. I'm not going to pretend like I did anything important on it, but I was there, and they were like, "What do you think of this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's this. It's like, oh, okay, you know."
Well, that's the thing. You are very
It could be
skilled.
something. Who knows?
Yeah, they say, U2 always says, and I think I've probably said this on the show, that it won't be U2 if any member of that band leaves. Is the drummer an exceptional drummer? Not exactly. Does he do any of the actual songwriting? No. Would the Edge and Bono have the same feeling in the room when they're writing, yeah, or whatever the next song's going to be? If they weren't looking over at their pal, the drummer, be like, we love this guy. It causes an energy that's creative. And you are like, I mean, I feel like Suda is still friends with you for a reason. He tries to make games about guys like you pretty regularly, who are just kind of like drifting through the world, having a somewhat self-aware sense of humor about themselves, while still trying to work very hard at things that are very important to them simultaneously. How do you make fun of yourself while trying to actually be more ambitious and take life more seriously than anybody else? At the same time, his games are like that, and you're like that. At least to me, you're like that. That's the Tim Rogers I know.
That makes a whole lot of sense. I can't disagree with that.
Oh, thanks. Every once in a while, that makes a little sense. So
yeah. So I've got a bunch of touchscreen games that are great.
Right.
Is that what I was saying?
You were.
Yeah, and hopefully we're going to make some of them into games. And I mean, the idea of taking something from prototype to finished game is a big deal. But yeah, like, I like touchscreens, and I hope to make some hard, like, I got, like, the most common email I got about Ziggurat was, oh, I didn't like games for phones. I don't like them, but Ziggurat, yeah, I like that. I like the way that plays. It's touchscreen controls, but it's got nuance, and it's got this, and so people are very articulate and kind, and it's like, yeah, I can't wait to make some of these other games, and I just still haven't made most of them.
Well, there's so much to do. There's only so much time. And
we're working on Videoball and all that.
That'll come out in 2015 for sure, right?
Oh, it will. I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, it's gonna be out.
I look forward to that. I see Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U perched prominently.
Yeah, I did not mean to put that there, but yeah, there it is.
Along with Secret of Mana in box, I think. I also have that in box. I don't have Secret of Evermore in box.
And Secret of Evermore, which is a better game for a different reason.
Better.
I love Secret of Evermore. Huh. Yeah, I love that game. There's no reason to compare them. You can't compare them just because they have the word secret in their title. Oh man, I have a quick story about that. Okay,
Please
first
do.
of all, the worst argument to overhear in the world is, well, I like Chicago style pizza better than New York style pizza. It's like, they're not the same thing, you idiot. You know, like, stop, like they're different foods, man. Like, let's chill out. I love both of those things, man.
It's kind of like jogging and speed walking. I mean, they're both involving your legs, but your legs are doing a completely different thing. You're going
totally different.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I prefer cross-country skiing to downhill skiing. It's like, well, that's not the same thing, man, you know, just because there's skis involved. Like, when I first started reading Haruki Murakami, the author Haruki Murakami, I not a huge fan, but I've read all his books because I read very quickly and a lot. I love books. Books are great. They're better than video games. Suck at video games, period. No, just... I mean, what is more interactive than a book? I'm reading this and I'm playing it in my head by envisioning it, and every time I read it, it's different, and I imagine characters' motivations on a slightly different level, applying my own life experience. It feels more like a game than a game ever does to me.
For you, yeah, because
for me, I mean, I'm weird, I don't know, but yeah, I started reading Haruki Murakami, and I mean, before anyone accuses me of name dropping, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm willing to say that that's what I'm doing because this is the perfect example of the Chicago pizza, New York pizza, downhill skiing, cross-country skiing, the people getting attached to a word. I was saying, I've been reading Haruki Murakami lately. Just kind of, it's like someone's like, oh, what are you reading? Like, I'm just reading Murakami. I've read a couple of his books now. I'm on this one, and I was saying it to this girl at this party, and this was in like 1999, 2000. It was in 2000. Okay. Yeah, it was April 12th.
15 years ago. Good grief.
Yeah, right. 15 years ago. So it was April 12th, 2000. I remember. And she's like, "What's the Murakami, huh? I prefer Ryu Murakami." Right? And Ryu Murakami is also Japanese and also a novelist, but by no means is he of the same type of writing at all. Ryu Murakami is a maximalist, confrontationalist, avant-garde, weird, big-time, big literary fiction, modern, crazy prose writer. And
Right.
I like some of his stuff, but I would never sit down. I would never pause and then express that I like one Murakami more than the other just because they have the same last name. That's sick. Okay, so. And then, fast forward, it was 9 years later. It was in October of 2009. I can tell you the exact day if you want. That I was talking about. I was reading a new-ish Murakami nonfiction book, in paperback because I can read Japanese because that's how cool I am. That's a joke. Don't comment and go stop bragging about knowing Japanese. Here's the thing: you could learn Japanese too. Anybody, you learned English. You know how hard it is for an animal to learn how to use words? It's a weird thing, but we can do it. We are just born with the brains to be able to do it. If you go to a country and you live there, you will learn the language unless you actively resist it. Okay, so I was just reading this book in Japanese because I'm so cool, and a Japanese guy was like, "Oh, Murakami, huh? This guy's in a hardcore band, really cool hardcore band." And he's like, "Murakami, yeah, Haruki Murakami. I read a couple of his books." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I kind of prefer Ryu Murakami." And I'm like, "Whoa! A Japanese person said that. That freaked me out, man." So
Yeah, that would freak me out too.
That just blew my mind. I'm like, wow, that's not just something that a college girl would say in America in the year 2000. It's something a respectable artist has said to me. It's like,
Well, that kind of speaks to the fact that in human beings we have this capacity for language, and which is very complex and interesting. But we're also prone to these simplicities, just splitting things into binaries, or wanting to put two things next to each other that in our minds we put in the same schema, same category for the heck of it. Like two video games. Like, people get angry all the time at Destructoid.com, the video game website I happen to be editor-in-chief of for now. Who knows how long I'll last? I'm counting down. I'm expecting I'll get through the next 6 months. I'm hoping. But anyway, we will review, I don't know, Valiant Hearts by Ubiquitous Soft, and it's a fun little game. And we'll give it a higher score than we gave Modern Warfare 3 or something.
Oh, yeah.
And they will say, how dare you give more fun points to said game that clearly isn't as fun on the whole because millions were sold in the Call of Duty pre-orders, blah, 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 blah. But it's not, but actually this is fun for me. If you don't mind, I want to run this idea by you. As editor-in-chief, I've been talking to the reviews editor of Destructoid.com, Chris Carter, for a little while now, about revamping our review system. And if I get all this other work done, I'm probably going to do this to change it so it is a relationship-focused review score system. Just
so like a better than, worse than?
So I'll say more like a love tester. Like if you go to Japan and you sit with your significant other and you test each other and then it tells you how much you actually love each other, that score isn't so much about your quality or your significant other's quality, but about what happens between you. And the review score system, I've wanted to do this for like 5 years. Change it so it's like 10 out of 10, perfect match. I love this game. It is my true love forever and ever, Princess Bride style. It's going to be love to last a lifetime. Whereas if you get a 5, it's like, I'd hang out with it sometimes, but I don't think I would ever call it romantic. It's more like, the third cousin level of compatibility there. Those sunglasses look fantastic. Are there flaws in that concept that I'm missing?
I mean, the biggest flaw is there's not a number from 1 to 10 attached to it.
Well, there would be at the end.
People are going to hate that. Yeah.
The number will reflect.
Oh, there will be a number.
Yeah, the number.
Oh, okay.
So 10 out of 10 would be like how I feel about like Resident Evil 4 or something. Like I could literally marry that game and have my life revolve around it, and I would be good. That's how compatible I am with that game. Whereas like Shadows of the Darned, I would give that more of an 8. Like I would want to like date that game for a couple of years, but chances are it's not the game I want to have kids with. And this was actually what the review description would be. 8 out of 10, not the game you want to have kids with. 10 out of 10. You know, the game that you see yourself lying next to and on your deathbed and thinking this was a life well spent with you, Resident Evil 4.
But so the thing that gets me kind of sad when I see people splitting hairs about, oh, why'd you give this game a higher score than this game is? I remember Roger Ebert in the Chicago Sun-Times used to always do his Sunday Answer Man column where people would send him questions. And I think the most common question he ever got was, and I mean, it must have been the most common question he received because it was the most common question he answered. He answered it dozens and dozens of times over the course of years and years, was, why did you give this movie, sorry, he didn't review games. He only reviewed that one game.
The motion control game?
That one Kyoto game or whatever it was, the Ruin, I don't know. He had some PC adventure game he did a review of. It was always, why did you give Tomb Raider 3 stars, but you gave this independent art house movie 1.5 stars? And he's like, I mean, it's like, are you saying that action movies are better than art movies? I thought that's, you know, it's like people would just jump on that guy for whatever he said. Like, if you liked the movie, you know, it's like San Francisco. If the Giants win, you know, they light a car on fire. If the Giants lose, they light a car on fire. You know, it's I mean, that's like most major cities in America, sadly. But it was always, why'd you give this movie a higher rating than that? And it's like, he would always go, well, I rate movies first of all to talk about the experience I had. Like, I had a good time with this movie, and it's dumb, but who cares? I liked it, so I'm gonna give it 3 stars. And you know, he would do that, and he said he's just rating it in comparison to stuff like it. You know.
Okay.
So I think it's cool to have a if I were editor-in-chiefing a website, I would want to. I think your relationship idea is good, and I think also if keeping a number is going to keep people from sending you horrible emails, and it will, then keep the number. But I think it would be cool to have like a sidebar that's like just like a buffet table of links to other reviews of similar games.
Yeah.
Be like this. These are, you know, I don't know. Like, I can't think of like a cool 3-word phrase for it, but like in the same league.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Like in the like the same league it can be ... and then just games that are of the same quality, and then you have better than. I know some British magazines did this. It's like better than 3. Then you have 3 games. Worse than 3 games, but they're not 3 games that just have lower scores, or there's like 3 games that are similar in a similar category that you, the reviewer, regardless of what numerical value your website has given the game, like 3 games that you think are not as good but are similar to this game that evoke something, and then like a 5-word blurb that compares the game to it. So it's like I'd have Gears of War 2, and I'd be like better than Resident Evil 4, and I would say less cutscene nonsense, period. And then, you know, just and the photo is a link to the review. That's how I would do it.
That's a brilliant idea.
Like worse than, and then you mention 3 things, and then you would end up running into that wall that I mean, okay, so it's like, imagine you're reviewing Metroid Prime, and Metroid Prime is worse than nothing, right? So like so you would have what do? You got to have 3 worse thans. Worse than taking a walk in the mountains or whatever, but don't do that. Like that's like what these old British magazines do. Worse.
I don't know why I wouldn't want to do that, because I was trying, and maybe in vain, because I have this like, I'm not usually consciously aware of it, but now, thanks to talking to you, I'm aware that I have this like disgusting savior complex, where I'm thinking I can save people from comparing things to other things where the comparison isn't valid, and therefore robbing themselves of enjoying both things for their unique properties, instead of saying, well, I'm not going to play that because it's not as good as blah 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 game when they have nothing to do with each other. Yeah. I'm never going to be able to save people from that. I've got to embrace it, as you're saying, and then to just say, yeah, you know what? Go ahead.
Yeah. So what you want to do is pull their discussion outside video games a tiny bit, right? You want to like equate it to just some sort of real world analog, and I think that's good, and I think that that's people, they always talk about what's the future of video game journalism, and it's like, oh, it's just that there's just going to be game reviews in magazines that aren't about games, I guess, and then there's going to be a lot of Twitch streams, and there's going to be a lot of YouTube content that people make, I guess. That seems like a thing, but you want to not prepare people, but you're not a kindergarten teacher, but I guess sometimes it might feel like it.
Yeah,
but like you want to like just kind of let people know it's okay to like correlate their game experience to something outside games. Like, this is I would marry this game, I guess, if there was, you want to put it into some words like that, and it's good to use phrases and metaphors like that. But at the same time, people are so afraid of change. Everything has to be gradual, one thing at a time, baby steps, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, that's why I'm only going to last another 6 months as an instructor. Sure, that's okay. I'll go out in a blaze of glory. But I'm really quite pleased with your advice, and I really do appreciate it.
I love the better than, worse than, because that's what people want to do. They want to know what it's better than and worse than. But
you got to embrace what they want.
You embrace it, but at the same time, you very cleverly, very subtly subvert it, because you're choosing the games that are being compared.
Right.
You're like giving them 8 games that, like, just links to reviews that are already on your site, that you're just saying, these are the similar games. Don't compare this to Call of Duty just because it got the same score. Like, we're creating an ecosystem, like a critical ecosystem, that this game, Ziggurat is in this critical ecosystem. It got a 9.5. Call of Duty might have gotten a 9, but they're not the same thing, because I know there were comments on the Ziggurat review like, how did this get a higher score?
I think there were. I think it would be fair to compare it to something like, I don't know, Super Crate Box.
Yeah, you put Super Crate Box, Angry Birds, whatever. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't even have to be a better than, worse than. It's like this is the critical ecosystem that this game belongs in, and it's just a nice, tasteful little tiny sidebar, or it could be at the bottom of the review, like right by the score. It's like these are right by the score, above the comments. You've got this bar that has a list of like 5 reviews. Just little pictures and a couple words under each one. It's like, here it is.
If I end up implementing this, it will be called the 108 system.
All right.
With you.
I would say go for it. That's the sort of thing I always, whenever I accidentally think I would work for a publication, it's the sort of thing I would probably.
It's hard, like you were saying before, though, in business, easier said than done. I would have to have a meeting with the reviews editor, who he's one of the hardest working guys I know. He sleeps like 4 hours a night. He reviews video games and writes news the rest of the time. Here I come walking in. Well, just like with the programmers, I've got this funny idea about changing everything that you do and making it a little more zingy, a little more zangy. He's going to be like, Jesus, this is my livelihood. I'm going to have to sell him on it. I'll have to sell the creator of Destructoid, Nero, Gonzalez on it. But it could be done.
I feel like there's a way to sell. It's a tiny thing. It's just a tiny little thing.
But as you know, working with programmers and with the collaborative team in general, you will say, oh, there's one thing that kept you feeling like stable, safe, that works in your system. Yeah. Why don't we just not do that? I had a dream last night. It was really cool. And in that, you did this instead of what you like to do. Try that.
True. Man, I've had some dreams about solutions to design problems before.
Really?
And sometimes they work. Sometimes they don't.
Awesome.
Sometimes we end up implementing them. Oh, I guess I should finish what I was saying.
Oh, of course.
About the Videoball, 6 billion pre-orders and counting. So
yes, please.
The kid slaps the screen and I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's what games are. They're touchscreen games. And I'd been working on a lot of touchscreen games. I have a lot of prototypes. I have like 70 prototypes. Like 8 of them are really good. 4 of them are better than Ziggurat. I like thinking about touchscreens. I like thinking about getting your finger on there and touching it. And it's like, and I've designed a lot of interfaces and stuff for people. There's a guy just like sitting right outside my house just revving a motorcycle, and it's stinking up my house with fumes.
I hope you're okay. Huh.
What is he doing? God, yeah. He should, sounds like a broken lawnmower. Anyway, I'm getting lightheaded now.
I know. I'm worried about you. The second most worried I've ever been about a guest on the show. First most, creator of Soda Drinker Pro, also Vivian Clark, Will Brierley. Yeah. He had fire alarms going off while he was doing the show, and then he just disappeared. And then he got me from Starbucks later or something. Can't remember how we got him back.
Oh man, that's terrifying.
I didn't burn down or anything. Yeah.
I think I'm all right. I work out a lot. I eat a lot of healthy foods, greens and vegetables. My lungs are probably a little bit stronger than I've got probably at least 15 minutes.
Well, that's how much. We have 12 minutes till the end of the show.
Oh, hey, well, yeah. So
yes,
I designed a whole bunch of touchscreen user interfaces for people's games and apps, and I think I'm pretty good at it, right? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about Videoball, and Videoball uses so you control Videoball with an analog stick or a D-pad or a joystick and a button. Which button? Every button on the controller. Every button does the same thing. It is a one-button game. If there were a joystick for Videoball, it'd have a joystick and one button, right?
2600 style, sure.
Yeah, I think it's pretty sweet. I mean, not everybody thinks it's pretty sweet, but they eventually come around. So here's the thing. The user interfaces are essentially touchscreen interfaces.
Really?
Huh. Because there's only one button. However, we also have a joystick. So you're using the joystick to cursor around, and then he's driving the motorcycle away.
I was worried he was going to drive it into your home.
I thought he'd have to get up a couple of stairs. I'm on like a storefront thing. He would have to rear up and come back. So yeah, the interfaces are basically touchscreen interfaces where there's except you have a joystick, which is like, imagine you're guiding your finger, and then the button is like you're touching. So you hover your cursor over things, and I present through the user interface. When I say I present, I mean I did up design mock-ups, and Brent Porter did the horrifying, slavish amount of work that was required to actually get it in there, because making interfaces is terrible. It's just inhuman work. So you're using you're using the joystick to move a cursor, and there's no. So what I mean by one button, and this is why this is remarkable, and why I hope to win like at least a Nobel Prize. That's a joke. I don't think I'm going to win a Nobel Prize. Yeah, please don't send me really hateful things about how
they're going. You've made a list already.
You just regret that you never became a real scientist. You just regret that you gave up math to make video games. Like I really don't need any sort of weird hypnotism in my inbox. I get plenty of that from myself.
But Japanese. You said that Goichi Suda has a kind of a cavalier style at times and buys really nice pants. You said there's a list of the things that you're going to get hate mail about.
Oh, God. Yeah, man, now I want to go back to the Goichi Suda thing. Okay, let me finish this. There's one button, right? Now, that sounds weird. There's no cancel button. So when you choose something, you don't press a button to back out. Yeah. What you do is you choose it, and it locks it in. And then you press that button again to unlock it. Okay. And then you can go down and choose cancel, because there's always a little cancel option on there. Now, hearing me describe it, it sounds like I'm some sort of insane kleptomaniac or like I'm some kind of weirdo. But if you actually play it, you'll get it. And the thing is, at the Penny Arcade Expo in Seattle, the Penny Arcade Exposition of Video Games in Seattle, Washington, in 2014, a lot of people didn't really get it. They were like, well, is there a cancel button? Is there a cancel button? I'm like, well, no, you just press the button again. And it's like, it wasn't finished at the time, and it's finished now, and it's beautiful. But I was playing it with my friend Doug Jones's daughter, who's 10 years old, and we were playing one-on-one Videoball, and she sits down, picks up the PlayStation controller, and we start the game up. I go in, I log in, I choose my username, and I choose OK, and she gets in there and chooses to register a new username, writes her name in, chooses confirm, chooses ready to play, and then just gets right in there. Like, I didn't say anything, and it's like 8 seconds. So Minecraft rules, because it has taught kids how to deal with user interfaces. And I mean, it was just like completely like second nature to her. She just immediately got it. Right. And it's like I did not have to say anything. And I'm like, wow, yeah. I guess I designed a user interface for children, which is cool, but this is how all user interfaces are going to be.
Yeah,
And there
yeah.
was like a million articles on the internet about how great Destiny's user interface is. Have you played Destiny?
A little bit, not a ton.
So people were just, I mean, raving about how great the interface is, and it's pretty good, but when you open the menu, you're now moving a crosshair around to like select the thing. You're moving a reticle. I don't see why it can't just be a cursor that's moving, because there's so few boxes. It's like virtually a touchscreen menu. It's like, I don't see why you can't just be moving a cursor around on the boxes. What people love is the good font. They love the weird parallax 3D effect that's happening, and it's like it could be better. And I can't say that in an article without somebody sending me something really terrifying.
Well, but I'm relieved that there's so many different. It's sad that we only have 7 minutes left in the show. There's so many branching paths I could take this conversation. On one end, we have this reoccurring theme of, well, people who love video games, and I, as someone who loves them, I can speak to one. Sometimes I have tunnel vision, and I forget about anything other than the standards by which I have come to assess video games with over the 30 years I've been playing them. I can't help but be focused on that, and also focused on how a user interface should be. Well, I've always had cancel buttons, so what? No cancel button? Whereas someone who hasn't been kind of developed and brought up and conditioned to think that everything's supposed to have a cancel button, like that kid, they immediately get it. And I bet that kid would also pretty quickly take to my relationship scoring metaphor, whereas someone who's loved video games and read video games as I have for their whole life, they're going to be afraid of this change. So you seem like you have it in you to inherently want to make these changes, which is what makes you such a good developer. But as a writer, it could make you incredibly unpopular.
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I don't mean to just point fingers at you, but we've had to bring up, and our minds, speaking of being conditioned, both of us have been writing on video game blogs of some sort or another for a good amount of time. We've been conditioned to just know instinctually what's going to cause people to feel bad about something we wrote. And I'd never wanted to write something to make someone feel bad. So even when people are very insulting and mean, it's not always so much that it hurts my ego, but it actually does make me feel like I hurt someone by writing that Pokemon X is not as good as Pokemon Black, and I will hold true to that. That is my personal taste. But geez, they get pretty upset with us, and that's not always so fun.
Anytime somebody's going to pop in and yell at you for saying something that they didn't like to hear, I mean, you know, not to sound like some sort of spiritual guru or whatever, but it's forgiveness, man. It's like there's just something, I won't use the word wrong, but there's just something off in the heart of a person who would get on the internet to post TLDR, I didn't read this. It's like there's just something off. They're having a bad day, and I cannot possibly understand the exact mechanical specifics of every bad day in the world, right? But I know that there's a lot of people having a lot of them most of the time. There's like, I would estimate, I'd ballpark at least half the people in the world are having a bad day right now, right? Like, and it's very visible on the internet because of anonymity and all that. And it's just, I just let it go, and it feels real bad. Now, the last time I was on this show, I talked a little bit about internet comments, and it was my practice at that time to not read them. And I followed on Twitter the internet comments Twitter, you know, and the internet comments Twitter reminds you every 60 minutes, don't read internet comments, right? And I unfollowed that Twitter. I eventually unfollowed it. And you know why? Because now I always read as many comments as I can. I'm more interested in comments than I am in the articles. And it's just, you know, you got to look at people, and it's like they're not the same people as me. I would never get on a website and say, why'd you give this game a 9? It's not as good as Battlefield or whatever. And it's like I would never do that. And someone who would, it really, really means something to them. There was something Phil Spector once said. Phil Spector, a producer of the Beatles, among other bands, and also a murderer who went to jail. He once said that every record, every demo tape someone sent him, they obviously really, really cared. And they were really proud of it. And it's like I record music every Saturday with my bro, Delicious McCune. McCune, if you're listening, you're my bro. You're my spirit brother. He lives right down the street. I record music with him every Saturday, and I listen to it sometimes. I put on my big headphones and I go, heck yeah, you know? And it's like, I'm not going to send that to anybody, but if I ever did, you know, whenever I do put music up on the internet, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Somebody's going to chill with this. But, you know, you'll get hateful comments about it or whatever. But Phil Spector would have never, like he said, he sat down and listened to every demo tape and just sits there and goes, all right, I'm going to listen to this, you know, and listens to everything. Listens to all the stuff and is just like, this, obviously someone felt the need to give this to me.
Sure.
So I'm going to do it. I'm going to listen to this. And I get in the comments on my Kotaku articles, and if someone says, this guy's a jerk, you know, except usually with stronger words. Usually they got to put the F word with an ing in front of any noun if they're mad. And it's like, I'll get in there and I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. And then it's just the next comment. It's like, oh yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I was just, you know, I was having.
But still,
maybe I'll read the article later. But like
yeah,
so,
they hadn't actually read it.
I'm just like, well, all right. But like, okay. On the last time I was on Sup Holmes, I ended up going back and reading all of the comments, and because like, I mean, at the time I did that, I had like friends would be like, dude, did you see this comment this guy wrote about your interview? And I'm like, oh, I don't usually read that stuff, but then, you know, now I do. And I read it, and there was like so many comments, and this sort of gave me a new, not really empathy, but just gave me like a new compassion for people. So many comments referenced my rich parents.
Really?
So many of them referenced my millionaire parents. I do not have millionaire parents. Like, my parents are hard-working American, lower middle class. They live in Indianapolis, Indiana. Maybe they're middle class. I don't know where they are. They're middle-class Americans. They are not millionaires. I paid my way through college working at Target. You know, it's like, I'm sorry if you think that I have millionaire parents, like, because I don't. You know, I'm 35 years old.
Still, to me, that speaks to, and the fact that they just grabbed that and ran with it and just assumed it.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, one person makes that comment, and then 100 other people make it, and it's like that.
But it caught on, I'm guessing, because this is all about assessing where is their emotional investment coming on. Like you were saying about Phil Spector, there's, for some reason, they sent you this demo tape in the form of a comment about you. They wanted you to know this about what they thought of you for some reason. So the investment is there, and whenever there's emotional investment, there's something interesting to be found.
Yeah.
But what you invested in them, or what you inspired in them, is an insecurity. Like, this guy thinks he's better than me. He's probably rich or something. He's in a different social class than me. He thinks about video games a different way.
Another thing that there was a lot of was someone said, I bet those glasses don't even have prescription lenses in them. Right?
I get that sometimes.
And I got that like 50 times. Okay, so I just want to say, if you're watching this show live, you can see these glasses I have. These are glasses designed in 1883 by a Japanese engineer, and John Lennon owned a pair of them. I've referenced the Beatles twice. That's like more times than I've referenced the Beatles in like 5 years. I did mention Haruki Murakami too, so that's strange. But I do have prescription lenses in my glasses. I'm sorry if my glasses are cool. You can get cool glasses too. It's not hard. You can just buy them in a store. You just go there and buy them. And it's like, so the reason I'm wearing these, I'm going to put my off-putting circular glasses back on. Like, these are perfect circular lenses. And I was in a car accident when I was 4 years old. My dad shouldn't have let me drive. That's a joke. I was not driving. I've never made that joke before. I'm proud of myself. I feel sort of cool for just coming up with that off the top of my head. That's also sort of a joke. I'm sorry if I sound like a jerk. Being apologetic today. I was in a car accident when I was 4 years old. My right eye came out of my head. They got it back in there, but I have bad stereo vision. I need big lenses. You know? I'm sorry if I started wearing these huge glasses with huge lenses and then everybody else started wearing them. I'm not saying I started a trend, but I was one of the people. I've been wearing huge glasses my whole life, so if I started a trend, it took like 30 years.
We're almost out of time, unfortunately. I got to reflect back to you, Tim Rogers. I'm going to be honest with you. I care about you as a human being. I don't really have a good reason to, Because
Well,
again, this is the
thanks.
third time we've ever talked, but I care.
I care about everybody in the world.
That's
So
you're a better
like,
man than I.
so well, it doesn't make you rich, let me tell you.
But what I'm hearing
But my
from
parents. Oh, that's a joke. Yeah, keep
talking
going.
about the money, talking about the glasses. There's an intensity to your voice. I don't want to go as far as to call it defensiveness, but it was almost, it sounded like a pleading for people to hear, you think I'm in a different social class than you, but I am not. I am just the same as you, except I am an individual and I think in a different way, but in terms of where I'm at, in terms of some weird social status thing. But there's something we're always going to fight against because you make video games and you write for Kotaku.com and you have all these things that people wish they had, so they're putting you up on a pedestal.
Anybody can do all this stuff.
You can do it. Yes, you are an everyman.
So,
you
like,
are your average guy.
Like I said, middle class upbringing, all that. I'd be like, I want to make movies when I grow up, and my mom's like, oh, you gotta like go to film school and stuff. It's like I grew up with, I don't want to call it negativity, but just realism, pragmatism. Just my dad's in the army and all that, and it's like, you can do all the stuff. Like anybody can do any of the stuff. It's really not that hard. Like. And I live in San Francisco now where people are, well, I live in Oakland. Sorry, I can't believe I just said I live in San Francisco. I live in Oakland. San Francisco is Disneyland. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area now where everybody's just sickeningly positive about you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. They all went to Harvard or whatever. I did not go to Harvard. I went to Indiana University. Go Hoosiers. They're just all like sickeningly positive about it. But it took that. It took I was in San Francisco on a business trip and I got dragged to somebody's business meeting in like 2009 and I'm just like, or 2007, sorry. And I'm like, oh my God, these people are, but it's true. Like I remember 1999 when somebody's like, look at this. I just opened this up and I can just get this music. I can just download this whole album in like 2 seconds. Like we're in a dorm and they're downloading music on Napster. I'm like, what? You can just get it for free? And it's like, that's like everything in the world. That stuff exists everywhere. You can get all the stuff. You can do all the stuff.
Napster your entire life if you're willing to give it a shot, take some risks, and apply some optimism. And
also not want to be rich.
Right.
Not be motivated by money. Money is not a good motivator. I wear big glasses because my eyes, like a circular lens, the center of the lens is right over my pupil. Okay? I have bad stereo vision. I have bad depth perception. My eyes need to be able to follow. I need to flatten everything, and I need to have good flat circular lenses.
You are pretty stylish. You enjoy style in a way.
I do.
Yeah.
And that's like most of my comments on most of my articles are like, why does you have this stupid hair? I'm sorry my hair's so long. I've been keeping my hair pretty short, so I'm sorry that it looks like this. So it's like, they're like, why do you have weird hair? Why do you wear weird clothes? And my answer to that is, well, why don't you? Like, you're making that comment because you wish you did. You realize you can walk into a store and Target sells T-shirts that are not blue and black and gray. They sell other colors. I just buy those. I'm sorry. I'm wearing a black T-shirt now.
That's a nice T-shirt.
They sell other colors. You can buy other colors. You can buy, I went to the Nike clearance store and bought a pair of magenta and hot yellow Jordans for like $48, and you can just buy that stuff if you want to look, if you want to just be weird, express yourself. And I
don't want to take the risk because somebody might make fun of them as they are making fun of you. But see,
then like I go to Penny Arcade Expo and I see people with video game T-shirts, right? And it's like, if they went anywhere else, nobody would know what that shirt is. And they would probably think it's ugly. Right? Let's face it, there's not really the designs aren't really like great.
Not always. Yeah. Most
stuff. But some of the stuff is, well, there's some great stuff now. There's like people making really great stuff. But I remember back at E3 2002, it's just like tiny logo, like a tiny Capcom logo on the upper right breast, and then giant Capcom logo on the back. Sizes were only extra large and extra extra large. Like, and now there's like super cool stuff. Like Naughty Dog had a T-shirt at E3 2013 that was, or E3 2012.
Yeah.
2012.
Are you talking about the one that Ellie wears?
Yeah, it was just Ellie.
Quick story. I wanted that shirt really bad. E3 was like 10 minutes to the end of the show. I was like, can I have a shirt? And the guy's like, only if you played it. And I was like, I played it. And he's like, yeah, what's it like? I'm like, you shoot the enemies.
And he's like, yeah, man. Did he give it to you?
He gave it to you.
Oh, nice. That's a cool shirt. They actually
Yeah,
sell it
very
on the
cool
Naughty Dog shop now, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like that's a cool shirt. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. But it comes down to that, you've got to repeat a joke word for word for word, and it's like I watch a lot of Twitch streams now, so because I'm trying to figure out how I want to do streams and stuff, and I see we have a question here from Conrad Zimmerman. I almost called him Comrade.
It's Teasy. Tim.
It's Steve?
Yeah.
What are you up to podcast-wise?
Well, yes, which you were just getting to.
Well, here's the thing. I'm watching a lot of Twitch streams, and I'm trying to up my Twitch presence, and I have 666 followers on Twitch right now as of this exact second, and twitch.tv/actionbutton. I want to make some sort of vague, not vague. I'm going to promise that I am going to make that channel legit, and I'm going to have daily streams on there starting about 2 weeks from now. And we're doing up like art for the page so that it looks like a cool page, and I'm going to do some daily streams, and we're going to do like a weekly Videoball dev stream, AI bots stream, where you can you still hear me? It seems like things have frozen.
Yeah, you're back. Now you're back.
I'm back. Did you hear me?
No, yeah, I did. We only have a couple more minutes left though. But you were saying you're bringing back the Videoball to the Twitch stream for.
Yeah, we're gonna have like Videoball dev streams because people are interested in stuff like that. I want to very soon show people how you make bots or how I make bots in Videoball for AI and audience participation and the sorts of bots that they want to see and all that. So yeah, like that's not a podcast, but I want to stream more. And my friend Vito Giswaldi, who's done some work for Destructoid in the past, believe it or not.
Oh, sure, Vito's a heck of a guy.
Yeah, Vito rules. He is going to be joining me as a Action Button streamer, so he'll be streaming on the Action Button channel as well. And Alex Jaffe, who used to host the Insert Credit podcast, I'm going to get him streaming. We're going to be I want to just really have that channel be legit, like leading up to the release of Videoball, whenever that is. But it's something I want to do. I mean, I've been like in 2014, I streamed a lot. I streamed pretty much every other day for the whole year, and I just want to do a little bit more of that. And I've figured out what people like, so it's I like just for the most part. So yeah, I want to do that. I want to stream more. So I will, and I promise to stream more. And please, subscribe to my channel. But also, I'm doing the Insert Credit podcast with Brandon Sheffield and Frank Cifaldi. We don't call it a podcast anymore. We call it the Insert Credit Show. So just look up the Insert Credit Show on iTunes. We're on iTunes, and we're also on the internet, insertcredit.com. Just check that out. And lately I'm on something I like a lot. I'm on a podcast called Violence Island. Okay, first of all, great name. If you want to see Violence Island, go to earthblows.com, which is a website I started. Earthblows.com, because Earth blows. Let's all go to space. So Violence Island is like a free-form fan fiction podcast where it's a Who Would Win in a Fight podcast where we randomly pick 2 characters at a time, and we have a weekly tournament involving 8 characters to determine a winner for the week. And there are a bunch of weird rules, and we're rewriting sections of the game design document every week. So it's just this weird conversation game that we've been playing for like 10 weeks now, and I really like it. If you want to go, it gets better as it goes on because we invent more stuff. So please check that out. That's me, Alex Jaffe, and Vito Giswaldi are the 3 arbiters. So at the end of each fight, we each, vote for who we think wins, and then that gets to the next round. And I'm having a good time with that because it's a game and it's a podcast, and there's listener participation. So if you get in there, you can participate. So there's that. And I'm having a good time with all that stuff.
That's all great stuff, and they can follow you on Twitter. You're at 108?
108, yeah.
Yeah,
just those 3 digits.
So much stuff you're going to be giving out or giving to people in 2015.
Just doling it out, yeah.
Pretty exciting. Pretty darn exciting. There's something
hopefully a bunch of iOS games and a big video game called Videoball as well.
Yeah. And I couldn't help but notice a reoccurring tendency on this episode. I couldn't help but imagine in your headcanon, like everyone you know has the capacity to either be the inner world guy or a good actor playing Batman. Like from Kenta Cho to Goichi Suda to just some random girl you read in a bookstore, they all have that capacity. And I'm excited to get more of that in 2000.
Every time Batman comes up on Violence Island, and he shows up from time to time because the listeners love him. I get to do swear to me. So I do that a lot. I get to do my Batman. So yeah, just having this microphone has forced me to start making. Oh yeah, because I can hear my voice in the earbuds at like the monitors. So it's like, oh yeah, I have a good time with this.
Yeah, and the listeners are as well. I've had a great time.
Well, thanks.
Oh, anytime. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having a good time. I didn't finish my coffee, so.
Oh, I got mine over here too. I'm gonna have to. After this, I am gonna be trying to format an interview from the developers at Nude Maker.
I know those guys.
Do you? They seem nice.
I mean, I know of them. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I've never met them either.
With them.
They're making a new game inspired by Clock Tower, so I'm gonna write that for Destructo.
Oh man,
hopefully
Clock Tower's cool.
It is super cool. They
I
don't
like
make
Clock Tower
anymore. As do I.
They should make them like that.
I know.
Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're making them like that anymore now.
I hope so. The only thing they've released is a live-action trailer with like a scared boy on a boat. So that could go anywhere.
Man, yeah.
But this interview will reveal more, and somebody who worked on The Grudge is working on the game too. So I gotta sort that interview out. But and also I'm doing this new show, Samus and Sagat. Maybe that'll come out next week.
Samus and Sagat. Yeah, I saw that. You'd linked it.
Yeah, I was talking about it. It's kind of what I've been up to today. I'm at TronNauts on Twitter. You can watch this show later on youtube.com/SupHolmesShow. You can listen to it on iTunes. You can listen to it on Libsyn. You can do those things. I think that's everything. I mean, there's always more. It's always going to be good to have you back on the show again. But
I'll be back anytime.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Yes, Tim, and stick around after the show. But for now, we will say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.